Single mile you drive, and let that silence sink in, because this is where logic is gonna go to die here in California. So check out this new pilot program, quote unquote pilot program, that they are starting here in California. Take a listen to this video.
California is experiencing the weirdest problem. They now have so many people driving EVs that guess what's happened? They don't know where to get the gas tax money anymore. Now they're going to start taxing EV drivers.
What?
With more than 30 million registered passenger vehicles in California, the state says it shells out more than $8 billion a year to maintain the roads those cars drive on. But because so many Californians now own electric vehicles, the gas tax money is starting to dry up, which is why Caltrans wants to instead charge drivers per mile and is now enrolling people in a 6-month pilot program to test out the concept.
Pilot program, 6 months.
Yeah.
6 months, my rear end. Yeah. That's just the kickoff point. I can guarantee it. Well, until I get elected to office, we put a stop to that right away. So here's what's happening. There's fewer gas guzzling cars on the road, which means less revenue for the gas companies. For the gas tax, really. It's your favorite excise tax that's not getting the money that they thought they would be getting. Oh, boo-hoo, Gavin Newsom. So Caltrans and their cronies came up with the brilliant idea to tax you for every mile you drive, electric car or not. So this tax is going to basically supplement, or maybe, who knows, even replace the excise tax. I think it's going to just be in addition to, but that's my guess, because the gas tax, excise tax, is supposed to be used to fund road maintenance, but we know they borrow from it every year to pay for other nonsense. It's literally robbing Peter to pay Paul, but that's California for you. So with EV adoption rising and, those funds are drying up. So instead of shrinking a bloated transportation budget, they want to track your mileage and charge you directly. Wow. Total control.
They never get rid of taxes. They always add more. They stack them, and here it is. If we were posed with the option, hey, do you want to get taxed for gas or for mileage? We'd probably say neither, but they don't give us the option. They say you're going to get taxed for gas and mileage.
Yep. That's because they're so brilliant. They're infinite wisdom here in California. They only know how to suck the lifeblood, the money, out of every single one of us. You bought the electric car they begged you to buy, right? You got to reduce your carbon footprint. You really didn't. And now they want to penalize you for not buying enough gas. You can't make this up. So a per mile tax, well, it sounds more like surveillance and punishment. And it's not about emissions, folks. It's all about control, and it's all about cash.
Yeah.
It's so crazy to me how they're going to do this.
I mean, look, it's a clown show. It's always been a clown show. All they're trying to do is come up with new ways to take your money. And it's like, did they not think this through? You're going to ban gas guzzlers by 2035. Thank you, Gavin Newsom. But then where are you going to tax the people? You have to come up with a new one? You didn't think that went through, smarty?
Yeah, no, thinking it through would have required more than a half a brain cell. That's the problem here. So, great. You're going to get punished because maybe you wanted to take a road trip this year. So that road trip is now going to tax you more money. Or how about your commute? Especially for folks like in the Bay Area. Some folks live in like San Jose and they commute into San Francisco, or down here in LA, folks that live in LA or Orange County and travel to the opposite place. There's a lot of travel. I mean, hell, even for me, I'm living here on the west side in Los Angeles, and I'd have to drive all the way out to East LA. I'd have to drive to the city of industry that's east of South El Monte, literally east of the 605 and the 60 freeway every day. I was sitting in the car for geez, at least 2.5 hours in traffic every day doing that drive. So what? I got to suffer the traffic and pay more? It's criminal what they're doing. These guys are out of control. What if you just manage the state and the funds right? Or better yet, came up with an additional revenue stream, perhaps, like a few I've developed? But that would mean you'd have to care about the people and not yourself. So, look, when we get back, I want to talk a little bit more about this and this green energy grift that's going on here. I'm Leo Zacky with Josh Matriciana. We'll be right back.
An accident? Trust Adriana Guzman-Freilich at AGF Law, your local personal injury law firm in Reno. At AGF Law, we pride ourselves on being honest, hardworking, and ethical. Let's meet in person to understand your case and fight for your rights. Located near South Virginia and Plum, we're always ready to help. Don't navigate the aftermath of an accident alone. Call Adriana at 775-453-9595 or visit adrianalegal.com. Your recovery is our priority, and we're committed to getting you the justice you deserve.
Barbecue the Butcher's Kitchen would like to thank every customer for your loyalty and continued support through these challenging times. Call for takeout and delivery of rib tips, brisket, ahi, tuna, roasted veggies, and much more. Barbecue's open from 11 to 7, Monday through Saturday, and delivers hot food safe and healthy. Call 499-5855 for details. 499-5855 Barbecue, as featured on diners, drive-ins, and dives. Get real. Get into Barbecue Reno.
At A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, we've been accomplishing happy feet for over 30 years.
We offer a various range of shoe styles and sizes for both men and women. From all-season shoes and orthotics to work boots and safety shoes, our professional and reliable staff possesses the knowledge to help you find the proper shoes to fit your needs. Hard to fit? Hard to find?
A Proper Fit Footwear is here to give our customers happy feet. We make people aware of potential foot problems as we're sizing their feet, suggesting the right arch support, and guiding them to the proper shoes for their needs.
Stop by A Proper Fit Footwear at 4001 South Virginia Street in the Reno Town Mall today, and allow the owner Mike Jones and our fabulous staff to find the perfect pair of shoes tailored to your specific needs.
A Proper Fit Footwear in the Reno Town Mall, the home of happy feet, where comfort and your feet meet.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Josh Matriciana. Well, California says it's going green, but what are they really doing? Well, they're going broke, and they're dragging you down with them. The truth is, energy freedom, well, that's real freedom. But the second they control your car, your power, your wallet, well, guess what? They control you. And if you think the mileage tax is just the end of it, just wait. This is the first toll booth on the road to digital feudalism. So first they tax your gas, then they tax your miles, and all the while they sell you a fantasy about clean energy saving the day. But what happens when this fantasy meets reality? Well, millions in taxpayer dollars, thousands of dead birds, and solar panels powered by natural gas? Well, this next subject here is the untold story of Ivanpah, a California billion-dollar green mirage. So, just so you understand, this train wreck that we're dealing with, okay, let me just show you what has surfaced across the pond, okay, over in Scotland. A whistleblower has just exposed the kind of climate insanity we've been warning all about. Guess what? Those wind turbines, yeah, they're powered by diesel generators. Hey, but it's all in the name of clean energy, right? Just take a look at this video we got for you.
The sector is coming under fire after it was revealed that officials used massive diesel generators to ensure dozens of giant turbines on wind farms could function. According to the Sunday Mail, they were tipped off by a whistleblower who...
So now it's diesel to power electric car charging stations, lithium-ion batteries in electric cars, lithium batteries to store solar energy, solar panels on prime farmland, meanwhile dimming the sun using stratospheric aerosol injections, a £22 billion carbon capture project, including sucking sucking carbon out of the sea, and now diesel to power wind turbines. And you're still going to tell me that this isn't a load of bullshit. How many whistleblowers will it take for you people to wake up? How rich do the political establishment have to be before you start to realise that it's all a money-making con? To be clear, that incident took place in 2022. We shouldn't have to rely on whistleblowers to tell the general public what you should already know, which is that there is no goddamn emergency with regard to you know what. Just please accept that you were wrong for once.
And he means climate change. He's just not allowed to say that because the powers that be will censor him and not allow that video to spread as virally as it should. I'm just glad we got our hands on it so we could share it with you guys here on America Matters. So we're watching this lunacy unfold there in Scotland with these diesel generators powering the wind turbines while the politicians are patting themselves on the back saying, oh, we're saving the planet. You know, the penguins, the polar bears, they're not going to drown. We're so good. But here in California, we got our own version of green madness. It's called Ivanpah. And it's $1 billion solar project that promised clean energy and delivered, well, scorched wildlife, broken promises, and, well, a whole lot of natural gas. So let's break it down for you, shall we? So what do you get when you combine a $1.6 billion taxpayer money, okay, expense, 350,000 giant mirrors, and the dream of renewable energy in the California desert? A miracle of innovation. No, more like a fiery mess that incinerates birds midair. Wow. Welcome to the bizarre tale of Ivanpah. So, from a distance, Ivanpah looks like a sci-fi marvel, an ocean of solar mirrors glinting in the Mojave sun. But if you get closer, you're going to see the scorch marks, and you might see some smoke trails in the sky from burned up wildlife and empty job promises. So this was supposed to be the future of energy, clean, green, wildly efficient, because the sun shines 24/7, 365. But instead, it's shutting down, and it's bleeding taxpayer dollars, and, well, it's frying birds like bacon. So what went wrong, and who paid? And it's one of these lessons here that we got to learn before the next $1 billion gets lit on fire. So in 2009, Google, NRG Energy, and BrightSource joined forces to build the world's largest solar thermal power plant. And you may have seen it if you looked out the window of your airplane flying to Vegas or Reno or somewhere east and north of LA. I know I've seen it plenty of times from the window of an airplane, but it was funded on $1.6 billion in federal loans from the Department of Energy. And they said that it could power 140,000 homes and create 100,000 jobs and slash emissions because, the emissions it's always the carbon that's killing the planet, even though we're carbon-based life forms. So I guess we're killing the planet by that statement there, but that's a whole separate subject. Look, it's green energy with big money, big tech, and big promises. So what could go wrong? Well, almost everything, because it's done here in California on feelings and not facts. So the design there used 350,000 mirrors to concentrate sunlight into towers. And the birds flying overhead were literally incinerated. Like, this was like an Archimedes mirror. Like, this is literally what it was, but for, creating power. And they would create plumes of smoke when they were incinerated, and they would be called streamers. Wow. They got a term for it. They got a friggin' term for it. So, an estimated 6,000 birds were just turned into Roman candles every year, including their favorite word, endangered, and of course, migratory species. The things that we're doing all this bending over backwards for.
It's funny because, like, what you just said. It happens so often that they came up with a term for it, like the
Yeah.
streamers going through the sky. But here's the thing: this is what we call, consequences, where unintended consequences. They go out with the best of intentions, thinking, "Oh, we're gonna save the environment." No, you're killing wildlife. It wasn't just the birds; it was a whole bunch of things. They've had studies on this, and finally, they're putting it to bed. But where was this thoughtfulness prior to it?
It's always overlooked. And get this, they did it on like pristine desert land, but by the way, they had to displace the desert tortoise and other native species. Who would have thought they would want to displace another endangered animal? So they're killing endangered ones, they're displacing other endangered ones, and it's all in the name of saving endangered species. I'm sorry, where's the logic? Look, this is nonsense. We've been totally bombarded with the fallacy of a climate emergency. We're told to shut up and save the planet, but apparently saving the planet means killing the desert. Look, don't get me wrong. I'm all about developing and land being used for humans and, doing stuff with it, but let's not be ridiculous with it. I mean, you should have seen, if you haven't, and I've seen it, it is a huge area that these mirrors cover. It's a lot of land for what? 140,000 homes worth of power? You know what would take up a fraction of that space? Nuclear power plant.
Right.
Wouldn't light birds on fire? Nuclear power plant.
Well, and the other thing here is that the whole reason Las Vegas literally exists is because the Hoover Dam. You get all that free energy with just the force of gravity and water.
Ooh, water storage too. You're saying there's a water component to this?
I mean, there's better ways to do it than trying to build hundreds of thousands of mirrors that kill the wildlife. And still, I mean, they're still using steam, right? I don't know. I've driven by this a lot of times. Every time we go to Vegas, we see this monstrosity, miles and, like hundreds of thousands of these mirrors out there. It looks literally like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
And it hurt, like you can't stare at it. It hurts your eyes, because it's reflecting, all of this sunlight to it. It's still
but Josh, it's worse than that. It was supposed to just run on sun, but guess what? Couldn't meet their projections. Ooh, they got the math wrong. So they had to start burning natural gas to keep the turbines in the plant running. And so they're emitting like 46,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide, in the green efficient solar power plant, because that makes so much sense. You thought you're getting solar power, but guess what? Uh-oh, it's a fossil fueled failure. Surprise. And guess what? Yeah, they got special permission from the state to burn more gas. The green hypocrisy at its finest. Isn't it wonderful? They couldn't even get it to meet 50% of the capacity. So promised 140,000 homes, got less than 70,000. Okay. F. They promised 1,000 jobs, only have 61 employees there today. That's a beyond F. PG&E ended its power contracts 15 years early. And 2 of the 3 towers, guess what? They're shutting down next year in 2026. Guys, this is like one of those things you might as well just say, I decided not to do the homework assignment. This is like unbelievable. Another taxpayer-funded flop. And they call it Solandra 2.0, a solar scam. So look, this place, Ivanpah, was supposed to be the future. And well, in a way, maybe it is. It's a future where every shiny climate promise comes with a very dark price tag. So look, we don't need green dreams built on lies and hype and scorched feathers. We need real energy. Clean, reliable. How about affordable? And projects that, work. So next time a politician decides to wave a $1 billion climate plan in your face and say, this is the answer. We're going to save the birds and save the bees and save the trees and the penguins and the polar bears and the fleas. Ask yourself, who benefits? Okay? Cui bono. That's the Latin expression. Who benefits? Who pays? Who decides? Because the future of energy is not about mirrors in the desert. It's about truth. It's about responsibility. And more importantly, it's about respect for both nature and taxpayers. But I'd also say it's about common sense and knowing what works. You know, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Jeez. Oh, how have we gotten away from that? In a state that could use water, in a state that's tearing down hydroelectric dams and dumping water into the sea and shutting down nuclear power plants. Sounds like backwards world to me. So, if you want to see a change, I'd sure love your vote, sure love your support, because we're going to bring all that stuff back to here to California. Common sense, clean energy, and water. We're going to take our bottom of the hour break here on America Matters on Leo Zacky with Josh Matriciana. We'll be right back.
In times of market volatility, it can be a good reminder to revisit your financial strategies to make sure they align with your goals. Call 775-674-2222 or visit nvretirementplanners.com. Advisory services are offered through Nevada Retirement Planners, an investment advisor in the state of Nevada. Any insurance products and services are offered through Nevada Senior Advisors. Nevada Retirement Planners are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any government agency. Nevada Retirement Planners does not provide legal or tax advice.
The Delta and Bonanza saloons in Virginia City are simply elegant. Imagine ascending the grand staircase and being surrounded by the Victorian elegance and grandeur of the historic banquet rooms. Original crystal chandeliers, mahogany bars, and oak dance floors highlight the eloquently appointed spaces. A truly romantic and unique setting for your wedding, banquets, or holiday parties. Detailed ceremony and menu planning ensures your special event is a memorable occasion. With just one call to Jesse at 775-847-0789, all of your arrangements will be handled by their experienced staff with your every expectation in mind, including cakes, flowers, photography, videography, music, and party amenities. Complete ceremony and reception packages are available as well as their famous themed weddings. Since 1865, the Delta and Bonanza Saloons guests have come from every state in the union. Now it's your turn. No event is too large or too small. Let the Delta and Bonanza Saloons plan your next incredible event. Call Jesse at 775-847-0789.
Have you been injured in an accident? Trust Adriana Guzman-Freilich at AGF Law, your local personal injury law firm in Reno. At AGF Law, we pride ourselves on being honest, hardworking, and ethical. Let's meet in person to understand your case and fight for your rights. Located near South Virginia and Plum, we're always ready to help. Don't navigate the aftermath of an accident alone. Call Adriana at 775-453-9595 or visit adrianalegal.com. Your recovery is our priority, and we're committed to getting you the justice you deserve.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we're back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Josh Matriciana. And, well, folks, why are gas prices heading to $8 a gallon? Let me tell you, it ain't just inflation. And it's not greedy oil companies. It's policy. And it's a deliberate refinery shutdown, or let me say refineries being shut down. And it's a boutique fuel blend that might actually be, well, not so great for your car. So let's talk about this here in California. Because, well, something that a lot of folks don't know is that California has a unique blend of gasoline different than what's sold in the rest of the country, because it was a fuel mandated to meet clean air standards. And all the refineries had to install expensive systems just to produce it. And guess what? Now that custom gas blend, well, it's pretty damn expensive. So, and it's also damaging older cars, especially in things that were built before, well, 2016. I've got one, and I protect it but I use racing fuel, and it's pretty pricey. And well, the alternative is watching your engine slowly rot from the inside. So, what happens when you don't shell out for the specialty fuel? Well, the car breaks down, and surprise, it's time to buy an EV or trade up.
It's like it's all planned, you know. It's like, hey, let's make gas that actually hurts your old car, so that way you get an electric one.
Well, it's more to do with the ethanol than anything. That's really what's causing the damage that they've decided to cut our gasoline with. Instead of having pure, unadulterated gasoline, we have gasoline that contains up to 10% ethanol, which your car was not designed to run on. But the 91 octane that we have here in California is less, well, fuel efficient when it comes to mileage than higher octanes are. You have a lower compression ratio, and you just don't get the distance. And I can say this with 100% certainty because I have done this drive a zillion times, where I would go from my house here in the West Side in Bel Air to Fresno and back. And I could do that on one tank of gas in a 22-gallon tank with 101 racing fuel with no ethanol in it. And I can get from my house to Fresno and back and still have some extra juice in the tank to take me where I need to go. But when I do that on a full tank of 91, I have to stop in Bakersfield on the way back from Fresno. And it's not because of the way I'm driving. It's because the fuel just doesn't give you the compression ratio that you need. There's less horsepower. And like I mentioned, there's less octane. So what they're doing with the ethanol component is it's essentially creating planned obsolescence, but it's done through regulation. So let's talk a little bit about the refineries here. So by next year, 2026, California is going to lose 20% of its in-state gasoline production. That's right, 1/5. That's because Phillips 66 in LA is shutting down by the end of this year. Valero's Benicia facility closes in April of next year. And it's not just supply, okay? It's a strategic infrastructure that's being dismantled, which is so crazy to me because we have all these ports here that bring in all this crude, but it's even more insane when you realize that there is all this crude oil here in California. In fact, if you didn't know this, there is a ton of oil under Los Angeles. That's why you have geographical features like the La Brea tar pits. And you also have things like fake buildings that are hiding oil refining, or at least oil pumping equipment, all across LA. You've got Signal Hill down by Long Beach, and even the Baldwin Hills are full of oil. And that's just the metro LA Long Beach area. I'm not even talking about places like Oildale and Bakersfield and Kern County. There is so much oil in this state. But hey, let's not pump it here. Let's not refine it here. Let's not use it here, and let's not have cheap gas because, environmental stuff. It's just insulting, Josh, isn't it?
Man, the thing that it just blows my mind again is that they would rather ship oil from across the world, to California when we literally can drill it from Los Angeles. Los Angeles got one of the most popular, if not the most populated county in the entire United States. Most people drive their cars here. You have to. So wouldn't it make more sense to drill the oil at the same place that you're going to be burning the oil?
And refining it?
Yeah.
Wow, it makes a hell of a lot more sense to me than it does bringing it in from across the world, or worse, even pumping it here and then shipping it somewhere else to get turned into gasoline and then shipping it back here as gasoline. That's a logistical nightmare.
It's lunacy. It's absolutely,
and then everyone's like, "Oh, why is it so expensive?" Duh. Pretty obvious to me, So where's California going to get its gas now? From other states? What? Mostly Texas, right? But guess what? Texas refineries, they don't make California's boutique, bougie little blend of 91, okay? And they'll have to spend millions of dollars retrofitting their refineries to produce it. And then they'll have to truck it across state lines or put it on a train or put it on a boat and send it through the Panama Canal and then load it up, pack it, unload it. I mean, it's a lot of moving parts and it's very expensive. And all the while, they're going to be burning fuel to do it, which is also stupid. So they shut down clean running refineries here, and then they burn diesel to truck it here in specialty gas from out of state. This ain't climate policy, folks. It's a friggin' clown show. Okay? And now you're starting to understand why gas is hitting $7, $7.50. Soon $8. Now we're not there yet, but we got a little bit of a taste of that just a few years ago, if you don't remember. I certainly do. But these high fuel costs plus shrinking supply of refining, that is, expensive imports, and guess what? That all adds up to one thing: guaranteed price hikes. Don't forget the gas tax on top. Now that's the cherry on top of all that. That's the real zinger. And it's not just affecting drivers. It's crushing businesses, delivery services, and food prices. Because guess what? Everything that you're interacting with, wherever you may be, was all brought to you by a trucker. And that trucker needs fuel. And if that fuel gets more expensive, well, guess what? All the things that you like get more expensive.
Yeah, let's not forget that even the California electric grid isn't even able to maintain it. They have to supplement it with natural gas. So even if you're driving here with a electric car, guess what? How did that car get charged? A lot of it's with natural resources like gas,
or diesel generators. I love watching the videos of the electric cars charging at the EV stations that are being powered by diesel generators. I love watching that because it is so friggin' stupid. Because guess what? All the things they're trying to do is save the environment are being powered by petroleum, and then worst insult to injury, those lithium batteries wind up in a storage facility like at Moss Landing, and then they eventually fail and leak and combust and cause chemicals to release into the atmosphere, and they degrade the environment more and worse. They're hurting people. They're burning them. Look, they're not just waging a war on gasoline. They're waging a war on working people who depend on gasoline and petroleum. Every single person. I mean, literally every single person. Find me a person who uses zero petroleum in any capacity in their life, and I will show you someone who doesn't live a very exciting life.
You know what it kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of them coming with chainsaws, chopping off your feet, and telling you to run.
Kind of what they're doing a little bit.
Right? It's like they're deliberately making it impossible for us to succeed. I mean, this is what mind controllers do. This is what they try to do to make you feel like you're crazy. They take away all the abilities for you to do something, and then they tell you to do that thing that they've literally made impossible for you to do.
Right. So let's ask the obvious question then, right? Is this about the environment, or is this something else entirely? I'm going to go with something else entirely.
Yeah.
So the closures and the fuel mandates, well, they don't meaningfully reduce emissions, okay? And again, it's not the carbon that's hurting the planet, okay? It's the lithium-ion batteries that are combusting that are hurting the planet. It is the factories in China that are spewing out chlorofluorocarbons and other toxic chemicals, making the solar panels, and it's the environmental degradation that comes from the strip mining and the child slave labor around the world for the lithium and the cobalt, okay? Where they're destroying entire hilltops and forests to get to this resource, to then process this chemical that eventually fails in the states that we put it in. That's the environmental degradation, okay? You know what loves carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide? Loves it? Trees. and plant.
Trees.
They love that, right? Save the birds,
Green.
save the trees, right? How about you give them the stuff that they want? Because you know what those plants do with the carbon dioxide that we put out of our exhaust pipes? You know what they do? They breathe it in. They take a nice deep breath. You know what they exhale? Everything we want. That's that sweet, sweet oxygen. They let that out. And that's what we get to breathe.
So it's almost like we've got this symbiotic relationship with nature, that we need them and they need us.
Wow. And we develop this technology that releases the things that they want more of, that will then release more of the things that we want, like oxygen. Wow. What a concept. But no, it's apparently killing the planet. It's not natural Earth cycles. It couldn't be volcanism. It couldn't be the giant ball of gas in the sky we call the sun. That's not what's heating up the planet. No. Look, this isn't about air quality, okay? It's about behavior modification, okay? It's all a control mechanism. Okay, the long game here is to kill choice, it's to raise costs, and it's to force you into their green little cage. All right? It's not sustainable energy, it's sustainable control. So we were told this is all for the environment, but let's be honest. The environment is just the excuse. The real target, it's you. Your freedom to drive, own, and live without government permission. So if you want $3 or less gas again, if you want to protect what's left of our infrastructure, if you want your government to stop punishing working people, well, you better start fighting back, folks, because the next shutdown, well, it might be yours. We're going to take our last break here on America Matters. When we get back, we got more to talk about. I'm Leo Zacky with Josh Matriciana. We'll see you in a sec.
In the 4 different parts of Medicare, do you have Medicare prescription drug gap coverage? At Nevada Senior Advisors, we will walk through the different parts of Medicare, including Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, Part D prescription drug plans, to help you determine which option is right for you. Visit nvsenioradvisors.com, call 775-674-2223 to set up an appointment. Nevada Senior Advisors is not affiliated with or endorsed by the federal Medicare program or any other government agency. Calling this number will direct you to a licensed sales agent.
I used to love going for long walks, but my back just doesn't cooperate like it used to.
Same here. But ever since I started a routine with Active Life Integrated Health on Moana Lane, I feel more flexible and in control. You should check them out.
This is Dr. Tom Waldorf. Let's make it happen so you can feel better naturally. To schedule the beginning of your transformation, call 775-842-0065 or visit activelifereno.com online.
Hi, I'm Noreen Leary, CEO of the Veterans Guest House. Guest House is a home away from home for our veterans and their families who travel to Reno for medical care. Our house is more than just a warm bed. It's a place of camaraderie where veterans can find support and long-lasting friends. We serve veterans, men and women, young and old, Navy, Army, Marines, Coast Guard, and Air Force. Wherever they hail from and whatever their circumstance, the Veterans Guest House is ready to support them. The reason we feel so strongly about our mission is that we know that many veterans would forgo their medical treatments because they simply can't afford the accommodations. The guest house is one of a kind in the country, funded entirely through private donations. Want to know how you can help? There are many ways you can be involved, from volunteering, providing dinners, or supplying items from our wish list. Find out more about the guest house at www.veteransguesthouse.org. Serving veterans today, tomorrow, and for years to come.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
All right, folks, we are back with America Matters. I'm Leo Zacky with Joshua Matriciana. And, well, the question now moving forward is there a future where nuclear meltdowns are a thing of the past? Because we need a new way to really have more energy here. I mean, we know nuclear power works, but where can we power entire cities safely and cleanly with a fuel that's essentially limitless? What if I told you that future isn't decades away? It's already here. And believe it or not, it's not happening in Washington or Silicon Valley. It's happening in the deserts of China, in the Gobi Desert. Well, this isn't about energy. It's about leadership. It's about national security and, well, the future of civilization altogether. So while we're busy banning gas stoves and arguing over, windmills powered by diesel, China has quietly built the world's first fully operational thorium molten salt reactor, a technology that could, well, essentially upend everything we thought we knew about nuclear power. So the TMSR-LF1 reactor in China's Gobi Desert went online last year, and it's meltdown proof. It refuels while it's running, and it uses a fuel we've ignored for decades, thorium. It's way down there on the periodic table of elements, and it's safer and cleaner, and get this, more abundant than uranium. And it produces way less nuclear waste. And crucially, it can be used to not make nuclear weapons. That's right. Can't use it to make weapons. How cool is that? No nukes from this stuff. So why haven't we embraced it? Because it doesn't serve the military industrial complex or the usual lobbying class? Possibly. But China just totally leapfrogged the field. Because most nuclear reactors today use water as a coolant and uranium as a fuel. And it's pretty safe, but there are some risks. And yeah, it's expensive. And, well, it's pretty regulated, like extremely. But this is a whole different ballgame, folks.
Leo, I gotta tell you, man, I have actually before today, I've never even heard of this thing. And thorium, tell me some more about it, because I really don't know, and I'm really excited to find out.
Well, they use molten salt as both a coolant and a fuel carrier. And it operates at atmospheric pressure, so no giant pressure domes are required. And, well, guess what? If the power fails, the fuel solidifies safely. No meltdown. Super safe. So now I'm hoping the Chinese aren't lying about all this and that this is super safe. Because, look, not going to lie, I don't trust anything that comes out of China or what they say. But if they're telling the truth on this one, this is crazy, considering they've got, hypersonic weapons and planes, and I don't think we do. So maybe they're onto something. But here's the kicker. They've already achieved continuous online refueling, a feat that no other reactor has done at this scale. So no shutdowns, no pauses, just clean 24/7 power.
Wow.
Right? Isn't that wild?
Wow. Yeah. You'd think that something like this would be all over the news, but to be honest with you, I've never heard of it before your show.
Well, got to stay in the know. So this is an amazing feat, and it took years to pull this off. And China started working on this in 2009 with 400 scientists and a vision, and probably a gun to their head, and families as well. So they had to invent a new corrosion-resistant alloy to master the 700 degrees Celsius, 700 degrees Celsius operations, all right, and rewrite the playbook on nuclear safety. So the reactor construction began in 2018. It reached critically in October of 2023, and then it was at full power by June of 2024, and they did online refueling as of October 2024. So that's what happens when you actually invest into engineering instead of ESG slogans. What a concept! No NGOs getting your money there. No feel good, sticker, that you're slapping on your bumper of your car or your water bottle. You're so green and friendly. No. They took real science, not feelings.
You think that the Asians, prioritized engineers as opposed to, green hairs, purple hairs,
blue hair,
blue haired kids who are doing underwater basket weaving.
Yes, in gender studies, but they can't figure out how many there are, so they have to keep studying it and taking on student debt. But look, this ain't about power plants, okay? It's about power, okay? China plans to build more of these thorium-powered modular reactors for, guess what? Export. They're already in the market to sell these things, because I'm sure there's a lot of developing countries in Africa that would like that stuff. And I'm sure they'd like to have better ties with, say, maybe some of our European friends or South American friends, where they're certainly doing a lot of Belt and Road Initiative work. How about this? They're working on thorium-powered container ships. Okay? So in Inner Mongolia's Bayan Obio mine, they have enough thorium to power China for guess how long? Take a guess.
Oof, I don't know, 100 years?
60,000 years.
Holy smokes.
Okay? So they're not just building reactors, they're building leverage. They're building energy independence. Okay? Military logistics are going to come from this kind of stuff. Global influence is going to come from this kind of stuff. So meanwhile, we're over here, bitching about cows with, and say, oh, they're the farts, they're bad for the environment. No, they're fine. No, they're tasty. No, eat these chemicals instead. These guys are actually putting pen to paper and making science reality. Okay, this element, it's not new. Okay, thorium, all right, has been explored here in the U.S. as a molten salt reactor. They explored this back in the 60s. And then they abandoned it. You know why? Because it wasn't good for building bombs. Damn. Can't blow the crap out of somewhere with it? That's not good for our military industrial complex. The thing that Eisenhower warned about back before he left office in the 50s. And then, as obviously they were researching this in the 60s when the military industrial complex moved in and took over. Yeah, it wasn't no good. Can't make explodey things.
That kind of blows my mind here. Like when you think where we target our innovation, it's like you would think that you'd want to have clean energy outside of like solar panels, which cause more waste than than they're worth it. You have like what we've been talking about with the windmills, that in some countries they need to have diesel power to keep them going. But now you have China, which we poo-poo a lot because they're communist, but here seems to be an example where they're focusing their engineers onto a real life problem using common sense, saying, hey, how if America is going to regulate nuclear power, if we have all these laws about, why don't we try something else that's not regulated like that? Thorium comes across their attention, and they think, hey, there's something we can do with this. Why don't we invest into it?
Mm-hmm. And they decided to go with something that's more abundant than uranium. How about 3 to 4 times more abundant than uranium? And guess what? The U.S. has over 500,000 tons sitting underground that we've yet to tap into. So it's not like we ain't got it. Well, we got it. We could definitely use it. But it's like discovering oil in your backyard and choosing to buy it from somewhere else. Kind of like what we're doing here in California. This is so ridiculous. Look, behind the science, okay, is a team that lived this project, and scientists sleeping on site and working, 300 plus days a year and treating this like a mission and not a job. Okay, so the lead physicist, Su-Hong Yi, compared it to the tortoise and the hare. Slow and steady, but destined to win. Kind of how their whole motto is with destroying the West is death by 1,000 cuts.
Wait it out.
Yep.
They plan for thousands of years, hundreds of years. We plan for, decades or election cycles.
Yeah, election cycles, a few moments. Hell, I've booked a trip in 3 hours. I'm just saying, they're in this for the long haul. And They focus on facts. I don't know any part of that country that is emotionally charged and driven, because our society here in the West, especially here in America, is so emotionally charged and driven, and we leave the most important fundamentals behind, which are the facts.
Mm-hmm. I wish we had more leadership in this country that just paid more attention to the common sense facts of it all. That brought up innovative ideas of things that weren't wild and crazy out there, like the power plant trying to harness the sun, but ended up using more natural gas and killing the wildlife. Why don't we do things more like, building dams or
researching thorium plants? What a concept. But hold on. We got to find out if cocaine is going to make Japanese quails more sexually promiscuous.
Hey, I kind of want to know that,
It's an important study we need to spend over $1 million on.
Was that thanks to Doge we found that out?
I think we found that out before Doge. But that's just because the kind of crap our country just throws down the drain. So look, we could power the world safely and cleanly for